that I hear sometimes from young people, that you can work around government and work around politics because it's too messy or it's corrupt or it's, I just don't like those folks or what have you. I'm sorry, guys, that's not going to work.
How have you and Michelle thought about talking to your children about being leaders in the world and taking up this mantle of what needs to be done in the world?
What we've tried to communicate their entire lives is that each of us has responsibilities. When they were small, the responsibilities were small, like say when you want to go potty, and then as you get older, your responsibilities grow. But part of what we, I think, try to communicate is that being responsible is an enormous privilege. That's what marks you as a fully grown human, is that other people rely on you, that you have influence, that you can make your mark, that if you do something well, that will improve other people's lives, that the kinds of values that we've tried to instill, many of them your basic homespun values like kindness and consideration and empathy and hard work, that those are tools by which you can shape the world around you in a way that feels good. And so what we've tried to encourage is that the sense that it's not somebody else's job, it's your job. And I think that's an ethic that they've embraced. Now they will choose to participate in different ways because they have different temperaments, different strengths. I think one of the mistakes that we sometimes make is to think that there's just one way of making a difference or being involved. If you are a brilliant engineer, you don't have to make a speech. You can create an app that allows an amplification or the scaling up of something that is really powerful. If you are somebody who likes to care for people, you don't have to go out and lead the protest march. You can mentor some kids or work at a local health clinic that is going to make a difference. So there are a lot of different ways in which to make a contribution, and we try to emphasize that. And then the third thing that we try to encourage is what I mentioned in my earlier remarks, which is that you have to be persistent. I always tell people that my early work as a community organizer in Chicago taught me an incredible amount, but I didn't set the world on fire. I got some public parks for communities that needed them. I started some after-school programs. We helped set up a job training program for people who had been laid off of work, but those communities weren't suddenly transformed. They still had huge problems. But I took that experience and then I was able to build on it. And I think so often we get impatient because change does not look as if, sometimes it's not as discernible or immediate or impactful as we had imagined in our minds. And we get disappointed and we get frustrated.
You started as a community organizer and rose to be president. You understand the power of moving people along, even people who aren't necessarily on your bus when you start. Talk to us a little bit about how you think of movements around the world and the power of those now and what leaders can learn from them.
I guess a smaller point, but a profound one, that I tried to reinforce with my staff at every level of my public work and continue to do to this day. I actually think organizing, mobilizing, starting movements starts with a story. And you can't create a story that moves large numbers of people unless you are able to listen and hear to the story of the person next to you. The story of your neighbors, the stories of your coworkers, the stories of your community, the story of people who are not like you. And so one of the things that I think is important is for us to learn how to listen to each other and learn how it is that we came to be who we are, think the way we do, because that understanding of other people's stories is how you end up ultimately forging bonds and creating the glue that creates movements. Every great movement, you think about Gandhi in India, it started with his understanding of India's story and his own story, and seeing Indians in South Africa discriminated against, and recognizing that there were traditions and myths and a power in those stories that ended up driving out the most powerful empire on earth. It wasn't guns. And increasingly that will be the case, and certainly that will be the case if we want to move forward the sustainable development goals that we're talking about. Is we've got to be able to tell a story not only to big donors or politicians, but also to, for example, people here in the United States who may feel like, look, I've got my own problems, why should I be worrying about somebody on the other side of the world? That I hear sometimes from young people that you can work around government and work around politics because it's too messy, or it's corrupt, or it's, I just don't like those folks, or what have you. I'm sorry, guys, that's not going to work. If you want to get done what you're talking about, you will have to combine effective philanthropy and technical know-how and smart policy engineering with getting your hands dirty, trying to change public opinion and trying to ensure that the people who are in charge of the levers of power are responsive. And that will require work, and I guarantee you will be disappointed at points. But what a glorious thing it is to be responsible for saving the world. That's your responsibility. And Arn, thanks.